And we are live. We are here. I'm bald. Ah! She's in pain.
I'm home a little bit early from work because pain.
She's in pain.
Lots of pain.
And I am quick throwing out some information out there. I'm just waiting for people to show up and so we can start our day. Hello, 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 hello.
I got to meet a member of the Milwaukee Bucks today.
Why don't you talk about that while I do the stuff behind the scenes? And
So, as many of you know, I work at a Michael's. For him and his family, I'm not going to identify who it was, but he comes in a lot. I normally miss him, and he's always got these big orders for us. It's really awesome. Great taste in art. And anyway, so he came in today, and I realized that's a member of the Milwaukee Bucks. So, yeah, it was
Zane.
cool. Zane, hello, darling. Yeah, we're still not entirely sure what's going on there, to be honest. We just know that it's nothing we can control, in all honesty.
Yeah, I've gone through everything I have control over, dude. You're not on any of my ban lists.
So, and we're not really entirely sure what happened. So, yeah, so
But it's good to see you. We haven't
Yes.
seen you in a while.
We've been missing you, actually. Totally truthful. There's been a lot of people wondering where you've been. So that was kind of fun, and I got sent home early today because I have my back, but it's all good.
Absolutely, Zane. We love you, man.
Yes, we've missed you. I've had no one to make comments to drive the Commodore crazy. Wow. Look, even Senpai noticed you.
Commodore Queen. Oh. All right.
So,
A real Taco Tuesday. I didn't get a chance to eat ahead of time because I had to go grab the lady.
yes, so we do apologize that we're sitting here eating on live stream.
I'm not. It's Taco Tuesday.
While he's eating, I'm actually going to start off the what's on the bench for this week. So, I still have the same things that I've had before that I'm actively working on at this point.
She hasn't done a lot of hobbying.
No, I've been working actually quite a bit. So we have my glorious nymph that I'm currently working on. You got greasy ass hands and you're touching my lady. They don't need that big of a close-up of her. He was touching with greasy hands, you guys.
No, I wasn't. I wiped my hand down.
No, that's a big old greasy thumb mark. And look back. I have evidence. Thank you.
Whatever.
Damn it. Oh, there's 2 fucking grease marks on her.
Oh no! Grab some alcohol and rub it off. Rub some dirt on it.
Faster. I started working a little bit more. I just finished up his skin. Well, almost with his skin. I got this wonderful blood spear guy. He's an actual named character for Korn. And he reminds me of a friend of mine's character from World of Warcraft, so I kind of had to have him. So, meet Gavir Bloodspear. Yes. Yeah. And then I have this glorious woman who is slowly but surely working my way through. I'm kind of trying to decide whether or not to leave the wood in the gray state that it's in, because somebody pointed out it looks like it's dead wood, and I think that looks really cool. So yeah, working on her slowly. And then I have my female salamander that I kit bashed and put together for my at the beginning of my salamanders that I will be building once I get the Indominus box, because those Marines are mine.
Whatever.
It's been ongoing. And then I got this from our dear friend the Commodore, who wanted me to paint this base for him. It's got this poor guy whose leg's been cut off, both of his arms are cut off, and you can't really see, but he's got a big spiky mouth full of crap. Yeah, this dude is chaos, and he got massacred by a Krieger.
Mr. Hawkins, good to see you.
So, and
oh, it's Dave. I've noticed you.
Hi, Dave. Hello, Mike. It's nice to see you too. But that's been on the bench for me. I have been working actually quite a bit lately. So yes, was trying to work every day up until I took my trip to California to see my family, and the trip got canceled. Turns out that the COVID out there has started skyrocketing. You're not even allowed to do that without explaining to people what that means.
I had the COVID.
I'll explain that one in a bit to you guys. So we had to put my flight got canceled again, and I have to wait yet again. But it's okay, because I view it as it wasn't time for me to be out there yet. Now, real quick, to explain the cute little delicate cough and the whole has the corona, I'm going to try to make this as quick a subject as are the dreads in...
They're legitimately done.
They got GW parts on. So there's this app game that I play. I'm not going to go into great detail. I'm going to try and sum this up, where you're playing a concubine in ancient China, and the NPC that is the emperor is a total tool, and nobody likes him. And one night, me and a bunch of the others that play the game were all chatting about what would you do if, you know, you could be anybody in this world. What would you be? And most of us said, I want to be the emperor's brother's wife because he's awesome. Some of us said I'd rather be married to the doctor. And then somebody asked, well, what would you do if you were chosen by the emperor? And a bunch of us answered, I would kill myself. And one person's response was, I'm a sickly girl. I have the corona. 6 feet, dude. And so it's been a total. How much would you estimate the cost of a girl Leviathan? So, yes, that's what the delicate cough has, the corona.
It was 2 prints.
Oh, Lord.
The Leviathan was 2 prints to get everything. Each print took about 6.5 hours, 7 hours. I don't know. They were Romans. Nice. Nice. I mean, the Leviathan was cool. It was fun to build and fun to paint. And he wanted for my wolves, so I got one. And I don't know how much did it cost. Yeah, wasn't much. It was 2 print plates. For my printer, it was 2 print plates. So
He wants to know because he says that he's heard that resin is more pricey.
if you're talking actual cost, less than $5. Out of a single $32 bottle of resin, I can get $25 to $30 print plates. Yeah, it was less than $5 though. I mean, it was 2 print plates. It might have been a 3rd print plate for all the weapon options I took. But yeah, it's not much. It's not much at all.
Your turn. What's on the bench?
What's on the bench? Well, if you've been paying attention to my Instagram, I just finished.
I think miraculously, what's not on your bench?
Almost everything. I've cleared out a lot of stuff on my bench. I finished my Wolf Lord. He is done. I gotta put him on the shelf with the other guys. Mike, every man wants Marines, because Marines are the best.
I like my salamanders. They shit on fire.
And we'll get to them in a minute, because there's a new Marine unit that's been showing up that really set shit on fire. Dude, it's really good stuff. I mean, it really, you can get such better detail. I mean, just saying. There's a use for both. We want to get a PLA eventually. I want to get a PLA eventually. Mainly for benching bases and really large shit. But terrain.
Vulcan lives.
Vulcan lives.
Yes.
Look at Fenrica. So here's the thing. What's on my bench? I finished both my dreadnoughts earlier today. I finished my Wolford last week. I finished my assembly and putting the primer down on my 2nd Hellhound and my Basilisk. So they're ready to start getting the rest of their paint done on them. I have a bunch of wolves that are about 50% done. I start a job next week. So I'm trying to just clear out as much as I have on my bench now, before I don't have bench time as much as I have right now.
I get a sleep into on Monday.
I did, though, start on a project I've been talking about for a couple months. So far, just the turret's done, but I am building my orc battle wagon, and so the turret that has the gun and will sit in the middle of the vehicle is basically done. I mean, I'm going to put some other orky details on it, but the primary portion of it, there's probably a quarter of a tube. Warmut! There's probably like a quarter of a tube epoxy putty, kind of holding it all together, holding it all in, because it's there wasn't a lot of substance. When I took the base off of this, it's a big hollow open nothing, and so there really wasn't a lot to like glue the driver gunner down onto and glue the gun to. So I kind of glued them as best I could, and then took like this. How much was this? This was like $8.
Like that.
Yeah, it was like $5 or $8 epoxy putty. I took a quarter of this. I smooshed it up and I just kind of jammed it in everywhere in there to kind of just lock everything in place. And turret's not nice and heavy, but it looks good. I like the gun. I really like the cannon. The cannon was just that's a tank gun. Well, let's just say it's a gun and leave it at that. It's big enough that if I want to play it as the bigger gun that reduces the amount of people that can hold in the back of the truck, I don't feel bad calling it that. So I can run either way, I believe. I've got the body kind of torn apart right now, and I've got a bunch of plastic card that I'm measuring and putting together so I can basically cut the back half off and turn it into a nice pickup and all that happiness. But But yeah, I mean, I don't really have a lot going on in the bench right now. I cleared most of my stuff up. I mean, I have some stuff left to go. I still got a couple custodies I need to get done. I still have a couple Stormcast I need to get done. I keep not getting to them. I keep getting pulled into, oh, I gotta get this done. Oh, I want to get this done. Oh, I want to get this done. And like I wasn't even planning on doing those two. I wasn't planning on even touching those two dreadnoughts. But I was, cleaning up the table and went, and something had to do them. So just boom, had to knock them out right up. Just had to knock them out the box. So. You talk to her about it in a bit. Anyhow, so yeah, it's been kind of jumping from project to project, and it's not a big deal. I mean, I've got the stuff. I should have a video this weekend. It's funny not being at work, so I'm home all day, cut down my desire to film. But when my time is limited at the bench, it basically ups my desire to film and do video content. So it's weird. I don't know.
And I keep giving him ideas.
Oh, it's not that I don't have ideas. I have tons of stuff to do. I have tons of stuff to work on. It's just when you're at the bench all day, that's the one thing about not having a job and not working at the time with this whole COVID thing. It's just been like, I'm at the bench all day.
Whose choice is that one?
Whatever. At least not spending time in a pretty princess game.
Hey, I feed people to tigers.
Anyhow, so yeah, that's on the bench.
And if your back's like mine, you're slightly limited on mobility. So, F off.
The problem is, Chaos isn't cool enough to have any of that cool stuff. They're not going to be usable for Chaos. Unless you want to paint them up as...
It's a vial.
You can paint... you won't be able to use half these anyhow because they're going to be Marine specific. But what you could do is you could paint them up as Alpha Legion and then run the other half of Alpha Legion, the half that's Loyalist still. Because they're a bunch of crazy bastards. You can run them as Loyalist Chaos Marines.
Well, then, it looks like you need to get to level 65. Yeah.
All right. So, let's see. What else is that going on? So, yeah, that's really... Well, I could show them the tiger, but you're busy drawing on it right now.
I was asking.
Is it on the bench right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, yes. So, in this pretty princess game...
I was just going to show them the freaking tiger. I wasn't even about it with it.
She's got a whole backstory, and there's a tiger involved that she feeds people to when they're naughty.
I got pissed at the riders at one point, and so I just decided, screw it. I'm going to feed them all the tigers. And as a result, I'm kind of known as the tiger lady on my server.
So why don't you show me the art?
So here's the tiger.
It's a fat tiger.
Look how fat he is! Isn't he adorable? Mm-hmm. He eats a lot of people. A lot of people. I mean, like a lot of people. One of the things that me and the other players are all trying to figure out is how in the hell this castle keeps from not getting taken over frequently, because it's like every day bandits invade the castle and they send the harem after these people.
Pretty princess.
And I'm just like, and so I was just like, oh look, it's Tiger Chow time.
I can't really talk. I started playing Battleships.
Yeah.
World of Battleships is a lot of fun. If you like COH type games, it's COH, but instead of you running around as a guy with a gun, you run around with a freaking battleship in the Pacific or the Atlantic. No, it looks like mainly the Pacific. Shooting other battleships. It's a lot of fun.
So yeah, that's all.
So yeah. So I guess we move on to our next topic,
Which is, I believe, what's in the news?
What's in the news? Oh wow.
I have no real clue. I haven't been able to pay attention to too much.
Wow, 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 wow. Yeah, World of Warship's a lot of fun. Wow, 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 wow. Man, there have been a lot of rules lately. They have dropped a lot of stuff, doing all these different faction focus. And it's interesting, if you go through and you read each of the faction focuses, each one of them has another snippet of the new rules. I saw the one that you put out there.
Yes, we had so much fun watching that
That was really nice. Those were really nice looking guys. I'm trying to get a bunch of my guys done and ready because I want to have a bunch of non-Primaris Marines ready for Crusade. And with Crusade, wow, they talk about a lot of the new rules. I mean, all of these different faction focus. They've been showing like a lot of different ways of building an army. One of the most noticeable things, I think, from my perspective, has been the focus on power rather than oh, dude, they were awesome. You're welcome, but they were awesome. You need to be aware of that. They were really great. The big thing that's been noticeable is that they're really trying, at least it seems like they're really trying to push, rather than match play and point play, they're trying to push. Playchild is wandering around. He's going to be mowing the lawn later, doing theoretically. But Matt,
Playchild, you have been summoned.
Playchild.
Yes.
Your adoring fans wish to see you. Mike's on. He wanted to see you.
Hi.
Zane's in too.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh,
Wow.
I didn't remember. That is one of the things I have on the bench.
So, as you can see, the child is alive and well. We haven't killed them and made them into chili yet.
I did forget. I did have one other thing on the bench. I just finished building this bad boy. I got the parts together. Plague Marine with the axe of, I forget what they're called, but it's the gigantic melee axe. I'm building some melee Plague Marines. You made me remember when you went Plague Child. Look at the size of that axe. Oh, it's ridiculous. I'm a murder things with that axe. So, yeah. But,
I got a female Marine with a hammer.
yeah, you got a Smash Captain. It's actually a full Smash Captain. It's got a jump pack and shield and everything.
Hey there, buddy.
Okay, goodbye. Still one.
I had to borrow.
Another one of my fruits.
Oh, none of our laundry got burned. Could you please?
Later.
So
Our producer has come in. Apparently, he has something he wanted to share. Oh, I guess he changed his mind.
so yeah, I mean, each of the new faction focuses, they've been showing new things. They've been showing the new, the big focus on narrative play and using power rather than match play points, which is interesting because I think for some armies that works out really. I think overall it works in your favor. Match play, you gotta scrabble and scrimp for every little point you can get, and in power play, you just go, well, we have 25 points to play with. This unit caused this. This unit caused this. Unit. What options do you take? I take whatever I want because I just pay X number of points for the unit, and you can have whatever configuration you want. I think for like things like Imperial Guard, that's a huge boost because I'm used to playing Imperial Guard. Everybody plays Imperial Guard. They're like, you don't take any of the weapon options. You don't take any of the extra gear because it's not worth the points. Well, if you're playing for power, it doesn't cost you any extra. So if you're not taking them, why? You're silly. You take the options and you get the benefit of having them because you're paying for it anyhow. Yeah, we were talking about that. Those new Melta-Marines, and they're in the Gravis armor. So really, they are the new. These are the new Terminators. These are Primaris Terminators. You got the ones with the Melta guns. It's been shown by the data sheet that the big dudes that they showed with the swords and shields, that blade guard, they're all in Gravis armor too. And so you've got now like 5 or 6 units that are all Gravis armor wearing units. Yeah, I think the time of finally getting our Primaris Terminators we've been asking about for a while is finally happening.
Why am I doing this to this tighter?
And I think it comes back to like a statement I had made earlier. Yeah, 24-inch. Yeah, it's those guns are deadly. And since she's playing salamanders and they're considered meltas, she gets to what? There's a bonus to damage as a base salamander's ability. Or a bonus to wound or something. I don't know. I don't know what the salamander's ability is off the top of my head. So
I would like to point out that the whole reason I saw one of those things is I saw somebody had posted this meme where somebody put over them where it says so it just says aggressor, and it just passive was somebody taking.
Oh no, that's not those new guys.
Oh
no, those are the old guys. That's why she wants to flame aggressors.
Yeah, and it was really funny because it has that. It says passive aggressors, and then somebody put a word bubble next to one of them going, oh, you serve chaos? I suppose somebody had to.
Yeah, no, there's these new guys that have the big melta guns.
Oh.
Remember, you're looking at it like, oh, that looks like a salamander. No, that's just a black guy.
Oh, him, where I was like, no, that's the salamander skin tone.
Nope, that's just a regular black guy.
That's bullshit.
The salamanders look like they're made of coal. That's just a really dark black guy.
That's a bullshit.
Well,
I still call bullshit on that. Because he doesn't look like that.
Yeah, those Melta-Marines will be horrendous with Sally's. And since she's going to have both aggressors and those guys in her army, she's going to have a hoot of a time with them. And the fact that she's probably going to also, because I think plasma incinerators work with them too, I can see her taking the Inceptors with the twin plasma guns and using them. So, yeah, her Marines are going to shape up really well, but she's got to figure out what she wants. Well, first she has to win the Indominus box, and if she doesn't win the Indominus box, then she's going to have to figure out when she have time to get herself some Marines and work them into her schedule.
That box is mine.
You got to beat me.
That's not hard to do. Clever, I don't have to play her. This time, I should point out that this time we are currently trying to figure out how feasible and how much money it would cost us to take a road trip to Texas.
Mm-hmm. Well, not anymore. They close everything right back down in Texas because they have the corona.
Dude, have we heard from Mythos lately?
No, I have not heard from Mythos in a day. I heard from him a couple days ago. He's fine. No, he'll be fine. He'll get on there. So yeah, I mean, it's just kind of.
Have you heard from Free?
You're not in Texas. You're not in Texas. I haven't heard from anybody down there. I haven't heard from anybody. My channel has been my Discord has been weirdly silent. Like the last couple of days,
it's supposed to be that quiet.
It's been quiet the last 2 days. I haven't heard from Meeks. I haven't heard from.
I think that's because Meeks has been in the.
Yeah, it's been quiet. So I mean, but it's the thing. Like I said, there's all kinds of new rules. I'm
sorry, Mike. I thought you were in Texas.
No.
Yeah, California's closed its doors back down too.
Which is why she's not going to California day after tomorrow, like she was supposed to.
Yeah.
Give me some peace.
You know what? We're not monetized. I can do this. Blame Morona.
I have corona.
You're gonna do it. It's
Kaiju, my man, how are you, sir?
Hi,
So yeah, I mean, each of these new faction bonuses, faction focuses they've been trying on, we've gotten new rules. They've shown the new, they've shown some of the new costs for some of the different, what do you call it, detachments and their costs, and some of the specific rules, like the Drukari
Kaiju.
are going to get a point break on taking patrol detachments if they take 3 of them. So if they take 3 of them, they don't have to pay for them. Basically, they get a rebate, which is just weird. They've clarified some odd rules that were going to be different from 8th to 9th. Like, in a perfect example, they were talking about people that are playing Blood Brothers Imperial Guard with Gene Stealer cults. You get to keep coherency, and you still mix the units into each other. You just basically...
Discord. It's called Discord, brother. Yeah, your brother made a comment in Discord.
When?
A couple of days ago. Oh my God.
Well, that's the whole thing. I go in there, and I almost see next to nothing.
He was talking about books. Hello, mates.
Oh, I remember
managers.
the thing from books a few years ago. Yeah,
That's the first time he's ever said anything.
not the first time. It's just been very quiet. It's just been super quiet for us. It gets active at night when Heinrich's around. He's like, la 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 la.
Yeah, who wants reference material? I have reference material. You want tutorial stuff? I got tutorial stuff. Hey, check this out. This is really awesome. What are rules? Necrons rule.
Yeah.
So, I wish I was making this up.
Yeah, it's funny. So, it's been interesting looking at the rules because again, looking at some of the way that some of these rules are going to interact. I mean, obviously, match play is going to be the big thing in tournament play, but I think you're going to see. With the way they're pushing, I think they're going to push casual play, non-tournament play, to be more focused on the using POW and using the more narrative campaign type roles, which is fine. I don't think that's a problem. I mean, it makes army list building a heck of a lot easier.
I know.
I mean,
I saw those years go up.
it's okay. It's okay.
It's actually, yeah,
it's fine.
You're fine, old man. You're fine.
So, I mean, I've been trying to digest all these articles. They put a lot of stuff out there, and they sneak a snippet of a rule every time they put something in there. Like the big rule they noticed in the Gene Stealer cults, there's going to be the big 2 rules they put in there. There's a coherency change for movements of units. So not only can you can't do the conga line thing is gone. There used to be a pretty common tactic in especially in tournament play where people would conga line out a unit because you only had to be within X amount of range of one other figure. So you could conga line your figures to stretch the length of the, as long as they could all reach, as long as they're all within, 2 inch, 2 inch, 2 inch, 2 inch. Well, now they're like, well, here's the thing. If you're 5 units or less, yes, the 2 inches. If you're over 5 units, you're limited to more of a box shape. So it'll be interesting because I know a lot of orc lists used a lot of that conga line tactic to get places and then crowd in, and that's not going to work. Gene Stealers did the same thing. Gene Stealers were famous for that. Or I shouldn't say Gene Stealers. Tyranids were famous for that. They do. But in this game, traveling in a straight line doesn't make sense. It makes people die. Because if you're out of coherency, now they're just like, oh, if it's out of coherency, it's done. It's dead. There's no roll. It's dead. So coherency is going to be a big deal. with the keeping things into their grouping. So you're going to probably see a lot of movement trays come back into use just to make it easy to keep units in coherency. Heck, I've even thought about getting a couple or printing a couple of movement trays just to see how well they work. They're also they have a new they showed one of the core stratagems, which they're adding a lot of basic stratagems. You know, like normally there's only like a couple core stratagems. They've added a lot of new ones, and one of the ones they've added is basically designed to stop people from automatically killing everybody in a unit. Yeah. The box is really exciting. The interesting thing is that this new stratagem. There was a thing where you would wrap around, like if you had a big unit of dudes, you'd wrap all the way around a vehicle. You've got some what? Tyranids? That they would wrap a vehicle that was carrying like dudes in it, and then they'd break the vehicle, and when the vehicle would break apart, because the vehicle was completely wrapped around, everybody in the vehicle would die. Which never really made any sense to me. But it was all about, well, if you destroy the vehicle, everybody had to get out, but they had to be within 3 inches of where the vehicle is, and I've got guys covering there, you can't put them down, so they're going to just die automatically. Which, oh, you got some movement trays. Okay. Yeah, so basically they just went, that's dumb, and I agree, it's dumb. So they've created a stratagem where instead of being 3 inches, you get to move them up better. It's like 6 inches, which will move you out of the range of the guys that are blocking off the vehicle because of the new coherency rules. So even if you wrap a vehicle completely up and it blows up, I can spend 1 CP and I put my guys out 6 inches from it. And there's just chance people are still going to die like always, but at least now they don't just automatically die for nothing. So, really worth it. Commodore, how the hell do you use movement trays with knights? That's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing. You'd wrap a bunch of, and the thing is, I saw like anytime people would play it, they'd wrap it up with a bunch of little dudes, and then they'd pound the crap out of it. And I saw entire orc armies that got caught where they'd run a truck up, they'd run a truck worth of dudes up. They get wrapped by Tyranids. They break the vehicle with these little bitty hormigons, just because so many dice, and then all the orcs inside would just die, and it's just like that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, I know it's from the Space Marine. God, you are thick sometimes, sir. Thick. Yeah, Spike Child came in and went back out. Did your mother find the cord? Never mind. Child ignores me. Whatever. So, dug that. What was the other ones they were looking at? Well, we all heard about the Tau. So everybody has to pay a CP, and they get to use 1 unit for Overwatch in their entire army per charge phase. These are the Tau. They don't have to pay, and they get to do it just like they do in 8th. So that's like their big thing. Hi, we're the best shooting army in the game, and we're really the best shooting army in the game. That's what we do. We may die in melee, but you got to get to us first, and we got lots of guns. which is kind of bull, but you know, it is what it is. Meh, it is what it is. Imperial Guard, there's some new stuff for them too. There's some because they're going to be with some of the biggest users of blast weapons. I mean, that's the thing a lot of people don't realize is that Imperial Guard, you think of they're crazy little dudes, but they've got so many vehicles. They're actually a really vehicle-heavy army. I mean, that's their big thing. They got little bitty dudes to support these great vehicles. Tanks are great. Tank commanders are amazing. Basilisks and freaking hellhounds and manticores and sphinxes. I mean, there's just so many good vehicles. Yeah, you know, I don't think you're wrong about that either. I don't think you're wrong about that. I think everyone will have one they get to use for free or one core rule that they get to play differently. Like I don't think Raven Guard are paid for reserves. I don't think what do you call it? The Gene Stealer Culture are going to pay for reserves, since that's a big thing about the army. I got lots of questions about how reserves are going to work because, I mean, there's a lot of Marine units that start off the board if you just choose to. I don't have to pay for that. So that's why I'm like, you know, for as cool as all the miniatures are and for cool as all the stuff in the box is going to be great, honestly, I think more than anything else, I'm actually really super stoked for that freaking rule book. Because I think we get that rule book, I'm going to spend like a couple days away from the bench just deep dive into that book. Because, I mean, they're changing a lot of basic rules. He's very cute. That's the fastest inking job I've ever seen you do.
He's really not that
But I'm just saying, even you've done stuff that was less complicated than that. And it's taken you a long time. It takes you a long time to ink.
Well, that's because he's also not the. I haven't done the other portions of all of this.
But I'm just saying, you did that very quick. I'm trying to compliment you here, woman.
Oh, okay, thank you. I appreciate your compliment.
You've been trying to work on your art so you can get faster and being able to get through it and still look good. He looks great, and you have, I mean, 8 years I've known you, I have never seen ink a piece that size that quickly. You ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, I think the updating of the rules. I mean, yeah, there were some things we don't need turning. I don't think we need to return to the days of turning templates and blast templates. I don't think we need to go back to those. And one of the things Commodore and I were actually talking about this. One of his things that he's actually concerned about is that for them to return to access points. Now, if I remember right, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't play for 7th and I didn't play for 6th. I didn't play for 5th. I stopped playing basically when 3rd was becoming 4th. I stopped playing. But if I remember right, basically vehicles specifically had places that you had to start your if you were taking people out of a vehicle, that's where you had to measure from. So the wondering is if that's going to become a thing again. I don't think they're going to go with that. Because if they go with access points, then they're going to have to go back to facing. And I know that was one of the big things they talked about in one of the designers' talks, is that there was a lot of debate and over the facing. They came out of the doors for realism. Okay, which makes sense. And I know when they had those kind of vehicle rules, they also had, specific weapons. You measured line of sight for weapons on vehicles from the weapons on the vehicle, not from the hull. Like if you had a side-mounted gun, you had a 180 arc with that weapon, and if you couldn't draw from that weapon your target, you couldn't shoot it. I don't know if they want to go back to that level of complication. That was one of the big reasons they went with 8th, because the rules had gotten so complicated and so bogged down. And I know in tournament play, facing and vehicle facing and vehicle fire arcs became a huge, huge point of contention in tournament play during, at least I know during 7th. I was actually talking to some other players about it online, and they were talking, and there was constant arguments over, did this vehicle have LOS on this? And well, it doesn't look here, but is it there? And there was a lot of that back and forth. And because that became such a thing of bogged down games, and one of the things that Games Workshop seems to be pushing with 9th is to make the game even faster, which I don't understand how they can add, all these new core stratagems and think that's going to make the game faster, or turn a bunch of die rolls from a single simple die roll to being a pair of die rolls or sort of 3 die rolls to come up with a solution. I don't understand how they think it's going to make it faster. Although the board variable size, depending on how many points you play, it'll make smaller games go faster. I think for bigger games, I think 2,000-point games are still going to be a long drawn out affair. But they're also putting a 10% point increase, basically a 10% increase across the board to all units. Everything's going to have like a 10% increase. So your 2,000-point list from 8th edition is going to be 2,200. So you're going to have to cut down 200 points for the stuff. Smaller armies. And that may be why they're focusing on POW. Because it doesn't look like the POW is changing much. Not that I noticed. So, again, we'll find out more when the rules come out. I imagine the rule book is going to have kind of like Chapter Approved 2019 did, had a secondary book that basically was an update on all points values. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm excited. I'm excited for the new edition, obviously. I'm not so super invested in 8th that I don't think the game could use a little bit more complexity. I think that's one of the honest. I think that's always been one of the honest complaints about 8th, is that it was too simplified. But I know for a lot of people, 8th edition, its simplicity is what drew them into the game. I mean, it got me back. Honestly, it really was the simplicity of the game that got me interested in playing again. That it wasn't a quick learning. It wasn't a long learning curve to get back on top of the rules. So, I'm hoping we don't see the rules glut like we saw from 5th to 6th to 7th, where every edition added, another pile of rules that just made things far more complicated and harder to play. I think that covers everything I've seen in what's in the news lately.
I think so.
So what's on the horizon? Well, Pariah is coming out going on pre-sale this weekend. They've released the rules or I don't know if they released the rules or the rules got leaked for the new Illuminator Cesaris or whatever the heck his name is for the
Big ugly guy who's been upgraded by the
yeah,
Silent King.
the big ugly dude that's for the Necrons.
Well, apparently, if you read the fiction, got a massive upgrade by the Silent King.
Yeah, he's 130 points. That's expensive. That's a big dude. I only cursory looked at his rules because I don't know that we're getting one right away. Plague Child has a lot of other stuff to work on before they need to worry about getting new characters. The new Inquisitor, the model looks amazing. I'm not impressed with her abilities. I'm kind of like, she's okay. I still think Greyfax is probably my favorite of the Inquisitors for their abilities. I think if I'm going to ever include an Inquisitor in an army, it's going to be Greyfax. Yeah, I don't really know of anything else. I don't know. Oh, Age of Sigmar. What were you going to say?
Oh, I was going to say I had heard that isn't it the Pariah books is the one that everyone's like all pissy about, or the Necron players are upset about.
I don't know if the Necron players are pissy about it.
Well, considering they were given this whole, they were led to believe that this was basically going to be their book.
It's got the Inquisition in it.
With, an equal, for Inquisition in them, and there's like all of 2 pages for them.
They're getting 9th edition box set. I mean, yeah. Okay, the gun that this new Inquisitor has is better than the Eldar office. I mean, like their equivalent of a company commander or a captain. She's got the same gun that they have because it's an Eldar pistol shuriken gun, but it's better than their gun.
Why is she smaller?
Because she's not a Primaris. She's a regular Marine.
Her head doesn't really fit.
I disagree, but whatever. You know what? I'll take it back.
She's an Ultron.
No.
She's got the Aquila on her fucking knee.
Okay, that just means she's part of the Imperium. The Aquila is a symbol of the Imperium.
No. The wreath. The Omega symbol. Wreath. Okay.
I don't see an Omega symbol on there, but
whatever. I regrettably have got to check out, folks. I hurt my back.
I
did.
So
Surprisingly. And this is not, I was trying quite hard to stay seated, and this is actually not being very good for my support. So I apologize. Love you all. Mwah. Hope you stick around. You and Dee have lots of fun talking about what's coming. I am looking forward to when that rule book comes out and he learns, because we're going to start from the ground up, teaching me how to play from the base, moving it.
And we're going to film it all. We're going to do
a lot of tutorials for it. As a result of that, as I've yet to play an actual game other than Kill Team or Warcry, so there's that.
Go take your meds and go to bed. And I'll come in after the show's done.
Go to bed now?
No, I said I'll come in there.
Love you, everybody.
All right. And here we go. So now I got to deal with me. Sorry about that. Yeah, her gun is better than an Eldar leader's pistol. She's really cool psychically. I don't think that she brings anything to the table that I really look for in an army. Not saying she's a bad figure. I know the Ephriel Stern. I know of at least one. This is a battle player that is so excited to get Ephriel Stern, the new Ephriel Stern figure, and the fact that she comes with a maskless her partner, who's a maskless Harlequin, which is weird. And I think if I were a Necron player, I'd be mad because his sobriquet, or the name they give him, that's not his real name, but it's just what they refer to him as, is the Pariah. Now, that's the thing. The Necrons had a unit. They were anti-psychers called Pariahs. And a lot of people thought when they saw that name, because of the history that name has, and it's associated with the Necrons, it's like, we're going to finally get our Pariahs back. That just kind of retconned out of existence somewhere between 5th and 6th edition. No, we're going to give it to a maskless Harlequin. That's his name now. That's theirs. Yeah. Again, I don't play Sisters of Battle. The fact that that's going to be in the Pariah book. So the Sisters of Battle are getting something in that book. The Inquisition's getting all kinds of stuff. And the Necrons are getting Illuminator Caesaris. 2 pages. 2 pages for the Necrons really in that book. Maybe some of the fluff can be used in them with them and all that. But I mean, the reality is that they don't even have their own section of the book. I mean, if Tau players were salty because the book was called The Greater Good, and it really was the Imperial Guard book, oh yeah, and we give the Tau a few pages, for the book to have a Necron on the cover and be called Pariah, and it literally has no Necron section except for the 2 pages for the new Illuminator Caesaris, that's kind of a... But again, I go back to the whole thing is that the Necrons are the new bad guys. So the 9th edition box is going to be all about them. And rumor mill says that the Necrons are going to be the guys getting they're going to be getting the very first new codex. Because they're going to need it with a brand new army, with a new faction, and a new everything coming out with it. They're going to kind of need to have a codex right off the bat. So, that makes sense. And it goes back to the way GW has been planning this from the beginning. I mean, they kind of let it slip at the stream when they were talking about the release for Indomitus. They kind of let it slip then that that's been the plan all along, that the Psychic Awakening was supposed to be like the Gathering Storm was from 7th to 8th. The Psychic Awakening has been their 9 months of planning to get everything up to speed to slide right in the 9th. So this has been their goal. That being said, I mean, that means we now need to be aware consciously and recognize that when they decide to do, the next time we see a couple years down the line, when they start doing some big crossover connected storyline piece, that's them moving in the next edition. And it's really sad to say that, here we are at the cusp of 9th edition, and there's already people talking about 10th. But I bet that GW is already talking about it. GW already knows where they're going. And if they're not sure where they're going yet, I know they're looking at a half-life of, we're going to get 3 years out of this edition. They got 3 years out of 8th. They're going to get 3 years out of 9th. And then they're going to move to 10th. And considering the half-life of the editions between 5th and 8th were less than that for most of them. Some of them, I mean, what was it, 6th edition? I'm trying to remember. I think it was either 5th or 6th edition was around for a year and a half, almost 2 years when the next edition came out. So, it's not like 2nd edition, which stuck around for 4, 5, 6 years. And 3rd edition, which really was 2nd edition plus. It wasn't really a new edition. It was just them taking 5 years of GW articles out of White Dwarf and putting them into a rule book instead of you needing to carry around a pamphlet and a dozen White Dwarfs plus your codex. So, I think fourth wasn't much better. And it wasn't until fifth we got the big black book that we'd had an edition that was solidified into one thing. And we still don't. I mean, we have a glut of books. I mean, it's still, if you're wanting to run Imperial Guard, you still need 4 books. If you want to run any army, you're basically going to need your base core rule book. You're going to need your codex. You're going to need the Psychic Awakening book that goes with your army. And probably a Vigilus, either one of the 2 Vigilus books. Yeah, that's what I said. I couldn't remember. I think it was either 5th to 6th or 6th to 7th was the shortest edition. And it was Chapter Master Valorek has a lot of good conversations. I mean, a lot of his stuff is leaks because of people that he knows. But when you get into some of his streams where he starts talking about logistics and talking about existence and talking about the game itself and talking about the lore of the system, not the lore of the game, but when he's talking about the lore of the mechanics, he actually has some really good deep dives into that. There's another channel, I can't remember the top off my head, but there was another channel that was really good breaking down how the editions have worked and what were the memorable points of said editions. I think a lot of people's biggest question is who's going to be the new faction? You know, what's going to be the new faction in 9th? Because 8th edition added Imperial Knights and Chaos Knights. 7th edition added the Inari. I forget which editions there were. I remember playing before there were Necrons, and I remember Tau came out right around the year 2000. So, I mean, there were previous editions that didn't have them. So, are they going to it's not even if who, but are they going to add a new faction and how would it fit in? I obviously think that they're going to put in, I honestly think they're going to put in a new faction. I don't think it's going to be Imperium. I think, honestly, if they're going to do anything, they're going to add a new Chaos faction. I honestly think they're going to add a new Chaos faction. Something unique to Chaos. Or a version of something that's in Chaos. Like, it'd be nice to see them actually put down rules for Dark, for the Dark Mechanicum, or in a playable Codex viable format, either Dark Mechanicum or the Heretic Militarum. I'd love to have Heretic Guard. I think Heretic Guard, I mean, they've got figures. They've got a ton of really great figures. Well, Eldar already have their kind of emerge. I mean, the Eldar are 3 factions. There's the Eldar, the Drukhari, and the Harlequins. But with 8th edition rules, you can play them together. Now, they nerfed that a little bit. They have to be in separate detachments. At the original 9th, you could have Drukhari, because they're all craft worlds, you could have them in the same detachment. That's who it was. Almost pro gaming. He focuses more on the competitive side, but he does break down some of the major rules changes. So at 8th edition, you could soup big time units using specific keywords. You could put in the same detachment Marines and Astra Militarum and Knights all in the same detachment originally. And it's like, oh, that's gross. And they realized how broken that was and they fixed that. So now that's not a keyword anymore. It's not a word for battle, for being battle forged. But you could still put Imperial Guard and Space Marines in the same army. They just had to be separate detachments. I think some of the rules they've altered now so that you can, but you lose some of the bigger benefits. Like Space Marines don't want to run with anybody in their army because then they lose their combat doctrines. I've noticed with the way that they've been putting the rules together, they're really trying to push towards mono-faction armies. They don't like soup. They, as a game system, yeah, it's viable, but they really want people to play mono-faction. They want you to play Space Marines. They want you to play Eldar. They want you to play Drukhari. They want you to play Necrons. They want you to play Orcs. They don't want you to play from all over the place. That's just, and it's understandably why, because soup factions are stronger, because you can pick and choose the best units from multiple armies and really make something powerful. That was one of the reasons that the Ynnari got that massive nerf. One, they were just super powerful, but two, if they were all considered Ynnari, you could have still Drukhari and Eldar and Harlequins all in the same detachment because they were all Ynnari. I agree with you absolutely, Kaiju. I've started working on, I've started working on my own Chaos Army. I got Fabulous Bill. No, Commodore, they want you to buy 4 armies. They want you to buy 4 armies. They want you to have a Chaos Army. They want you to have a Imperial Army. They want you to have a Chaos Army. They want you to have an Imperial Army. They want you to have a Xeno Army. And then they want you to have the army that you're working on and you're still trying to get up to points. Why is it a bad thing? When you can pick and choose the best units, certain armies become so much more powerful than others that others don't get played. And when they don't get played, they don't get bought. And if they don't get bought, they don't make any money. I think the best example of that is Orcs. Orcs make them money because the fanboys for Orcs, which I am one of, love Orcs. Doesn't matter what the rules are. It doesn't matter that they don't get to soup with anybody. It doesn't matter because Orcs are the best. But Orcs are always a mid-tier tournament play. And the unfortunate reality is that even though casual players buy what looks awesome and what they want, there's always going to be meta chasers. So they generate a ton of money. People see what's winning at the tournaments, and that's what they buy. Knights got released. A lot of Knights got sold. Knights started winning at tournaments, and the Knight numbers went up and up and up and up and up and up. Space Marines they always sell good because people love Space Marines, but when the Space Marines 2.0 Codex came out and Space Marines suddenly went from being pretty good to, holy crap, they're the best army in the game, the numbers spiked. Eldar are always a good seller because Eldar have always been good. But when Ynnari came out, you saw a huge rush of people buying Eldar and Eldar and Drukhari and Harlequins, because now you could soup 3 armies that were individually really good, but you could put them together now and be grotesque. The Harlequins had one of the best flying assault units in the game. The Drukhari have, simply put, some of the best movement vehicles in the game. And the Eldar have just the ability to pick, choose, and eliminate units between either their shooting or their specialty game. All three armies are really good at what they do. When Ynnari, before it got nerfed, when you could just kind of soup them all together, Ynnaris were the only things that were standing up to the Knights. Ynnari, well, and the Tau. Because the Tau had been broken pretty much forever. They sucked, they sucked, they sucked. From when they first came out, the first few editions, they were terrible. They were terrible. And then something happened to them in 6th edition where they got where the Triptide, the 3 Riptide configuration happened. And I think that was 6th edition. And once the 3 Riptide configuration became a thing, the Tau became unstoppable. They are always at top tables. The Triptide list throughout 8th edition, when everybody else was getting new rules and everybody was getting OP, Tau just stayed with their Triptide list and just kind of... But they're boring to play that way if that's what you want to play. But, I mean, the tournament players, you know, it's funny. Some tournament players don't care about if they're boring to play. They're playing to win. They're playing to do their best. I'm not that guy. Like, if I play a Tau army, if I ever actually build a Tau army, other than my kill team, if I ever actually build a Tau army, I can tell you right now, the first thing I want to do is get as many crisis suits as I can, because I want to play crazy amounts of crisis suits. I want to play as many crisis suits as I can, because I love the look of that unit. I want to play piranhas. I think they're cool. I think fast, speedy, 2-man flying shooty bathtubs are awesome. You know? I think there's a lot of possibilities for every army. And I think, and that goes back to what I was saying earlier in the list. Yeah, Sonic Marines are a lot of fun. Noise Marines are fun. Emperor's Children are one of my favorite Chaos armies. Until Bile and his new Agents of Bile came out, I've been debating whether or not I was going to do my guys as Emperor's Children or do them as Red Corsairs. I think I'm going to do mine as Agents of Bile, but I'm going to do them in Emperor's Children colors so I can make them Emperor's Children by choice, because I love Sonic Marines. I think they're awesome. Seriously, Phoenix, I believe, well, I mean, he has a bunch of Tau. If he has one, have Commodore show you what a piranha looks like. It's a flying, shooty bathtub with 2-man. It's a 2-man bathtub with rockets. It's hilarious looking, and I love the look of the vehicle. It's dumb and fun at the same time. I love them. And that's the thing. I love the Tau on a whole. I love the aesthetic of the Tau. I really do. I don't know if I've made this clear. I'm a GW fanboy. I don't think they can do no wrong. I think there's a lot of things they mess up and do wrong. But I love their style, their figures and their designs. And each of their armies are so distinctly different from each other. I love the aesthetics of the Tau. I love the way they look. I love the fact that they're alien and very different from all the other factions. I love the Necrons. Had Plague Child not decided that they wanted to play Necrons, they were going to be my next. They were going to be my next army. They were going to be the army I was going to do after I finished with my orcs. They were going to be my army for next year. Because I'm trying to do an army every year, like pick a new faction and just get about 2,000 points to them. Then we have a playable army in about in a couple of different configurations. That's a goal, at least for me. I love the Necrons. I love the look. I love the lore. I love the just the whole aesthetic of them. I love the look of the Eldar and the Drukhari and the Harlequins. I love the Craftwoods look. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it just that's the thing. The Talon are such a great looking army. I'll be honest. One of the things I don't like about the Eldar, I like the Drukhari. But the thing is, the Eldar, I like the Eldar because they play well. I love the way I love their idea of how you're supposed to play, or the general way of playing Eldar. They fit they fit my type of play style. One thing I don't like about them is I don't like a lot of their aesthetics. Actually, a lot of their figures are just super spindly, and I don't like that. I don't like them for that reason. I mean, they seem kind of neat, but I mean, I've built a few. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, I've built a squad of Wraithguard, and I've got a few other Eldar. I'm giving them to Lady D. She's gonna strip them, and then she's gonna strip them, and then use them to turn them into Yanari. I don't know. I'm not a fan of their aesthetic, but I recognize that's a personal thing for me, and I recognize why some people really like their aesthetic. And that goes back to the whole thing. 40K's got somebody thing for everybody. I love the orcs. I love the fact that the orcs look like just we took random junk, slapped it together, now it kills you. That's awesome. I love the aesthetic of the Marines. I love the Imperial Guard. And I love the Imperial Guard for a very different reason than a lot of other people do. Some people really like the fact that the Imperial Guard, lore-wise, they're just regular human beings. They're just regular guys trying to save their universe. That's not why I dig them. I'll be honest, there's a reason why I like the Imperial Guard and I paint them the way I do, is as a veteran, they remind me of, and I get to play them the way I want to play them. I want to play them like I was in the military. That's why my Imperial Guard has a bunch of troops, but it's a lot of vehicles, and I want more. I want to have a whole bunch of more tanks. I want to have a bunch more assault vehicles. I want, there's an Imperial Guard assault tank. They call it a salamander. It's a wyvern, not a wyvern. It's a chimera. It's a chimera, the transport vehicle, but it's got a bigger gun on it, and it doesn't carry as many dudes. I don't think it even carries dudes on it, but it's an assault vehicle. And I don't even know if it's got codex support right now. I think it's a forge world only thing, but I love the look of it. I love that they repurpose vehicles with different weapon layouts, and it's a completely different vehicle. I love the fact that the wyvern, the manticore, the sphinx, the chimera, the hellhound, all of these vehicles are all based on the chimera APC. I love that. I love that they're all based on a single vehicle. They've just recommissioned different pieces on to make it another vehicle. For a guy that was in the military in the late 80s and early 90s, that was in a unit that used Hummers, we had 7 or 8 different versions of the Humvee. We had the ambulance Humvee, we had the troop carrier Humvee, we had the stripped down high rapid assault Humvee, we had the heavy assault Humvee, we had the tow carrier Humvee. There were all these different variations of the Humvee that you could see they were all the same vehicle, but each one was specially configured to be a different vehicle. I dig that. I dig that a lot, and I like that idea. I've always thought, and it's a bit of personal pride for me. Little hint here. One of the things, the video I'm doing this week, I'm doing an Imperial Guard. I'm doing a showcase of my Imperial Guard army. And the lore I've built my Imperial Guard on, and I'll admit it's a piece of conceit. It's based on my unit when I was in the army. It is the heraldry I want to use, the symbolry I'm using, the naming convention. That's all based on my physical unit when I was in the military. So I run my Imperial Guard like my unit was run. And I'm going to be honest with you, my unit in the military was we were a unique unit. We were the only one of its kind in the U.S. Army when I was in it. And instead of fighting with tanks, instead of fighting with heavy weapons and heavy vehicles, we were a light infantry, but we weren't foot ground. We weren't like foot ground. We were what they called motorized. We had dozens of Humvees, 20, 30, 40, 50 Humvees to a unit, so that we could sweep in at 50 miles an hour, even going cross country, jump out, unload our thing, jump back in the vehicle, and take back off again. My job specifically as a tank sniper, I shot a tow missile. So I blew up tanks from 3.5 kilometers away. We'd get in our vehicle, we'd get in our Hummer, we'd do 50 miles an hour across the desert, find a little gully, pull up, hole up, put the gun up, wait for a tank to come in line, see it, shoot it, boom, run. By the time the tanks could even turn and figure out where they were getting blown up from, we were gone. That was what we did. And that's how I want to play my Imperial Guard. My Imperial Guard is a lot of heavy weapons teams. It's a lot of every squad of infantry has a plasma gun in that unit so they can shoot something big with it while the infantry deal with the chaff. That's the goal. That's the goal of the unit. And maybe that's not the meta that people play Imperial Guard to do. But it's my guard. And that, again, goes back to the beauty of what 40K is all about. There's no wrong way to play your army. There may be more efficient ways to play your army, but it's your army. You play it the way you want to play it. You build it the way you want it. You paint it the way you want to do it. You build it. You play it the way you want to do it. So my Imperial Guard is not the average Imperial Guard, but I love it. I love it to death. I love the paint scheme because I based it on 90s camouflage. That late 80s, early 90s four-tone Woodlands camo. And I think that's what 90s is going to let us do. I think, and that goes back to what we were saying again about the whole POW thing. I think the ability for us to play basing things on POW rather than basing things on match play points will let people play a more narrative unit, a more narrative army, because they can get more of what they want to play rather than having to scrape, I don't have enough points for that extra bolt gun or that radio or that auger array, so I'm not going to take them. That's not the way it works with POW. So you take a unit and then you put whatever configuration you want in the unit. That doesn't cost an extra POW. So take that for what you will. That's just my thoughts and my opinions on it. We'll know more once we get that book. So again, Pariah should go on pre-sale this week. I'm hearing that the Indominus box, since they're going to be doing that playthrough this weekend, they're going to probably be announcing when the pre-sale date is really soon. I keep hearing that it's going to go on pre-sale mid-July, and that it's going to be delivered by the end of July. So, again, that's a rumor. It's It's not set in stone. That's just what my sources tell me. So, that being said, I want to thank everyone for being here tonight. Ask you to smash that like button. Let YouTube know I'm doing a good job. Please don't forget to ring that bell, hit that subscription, and when you can, throw comments in the videos down below. Just to let me know. If there's something you want to talk about in the future, give me a note. Let me know. Likes let YouTube know I'm doing an okay job, and they'll send more people my way. More people my way means I get to spread the joy that I have for 40K with the world, and that's what this is all about, spreading joy. Lastly, I want to give a big shout out to all my lovely Patreons. Thank you so much. Your donations let me do this with a little bit less weight on my pocket, and I appreciate that greatly. You let me get supplies and pick up models that I can do great things with for this channel. So thank you so much. I want to give a big shout out. Oh my! I want to hear that one out. You know, we got to get together because I want to hear that. Really, that sounds amazing. Hey, Laura, good to see you. You're coming in just as we're closing up for the night. We're going to start with a big shout out first off to my tier 1, my Battle Brother level Patreons. Big shout out to Inquisitor Zane and Mini Warm Up. Thank you so much. I want to give another big shout out to my tier 2, my Battle Leader level Patreons, Joe Bookish and Heinrich Botha. And lastly, I want to give a shout out to my 3 Warlord level Patreons, the Commodore coming in from high orbit, my lovely brother, that amazing genius who's going to teach you how to paint camouflage using Silly Putty, Alex Drake, the master modeler, and lastly, James Clapdam Cheeks, the ultimate Smash Captain, such a great guy. Thank you, all 7 of you Patreon members. Now remember, all 3 of us, me, Lady Dragon, and Plague Child, all have Instagrams. Pop out on Instagram, see what we're working on recently. We do have a merch store. If you got Teespring, the Gamecraft Dragon store, we have merch. We should be adding new merch to that probably the next week or 2. We got a couple new items and stuff. Let's see. What else we got going on? Patreon, I've already mentioned. And, of course, subscriptions here. Ring that bell. Let you know when we're doing any crazy things. We try to do this every single Tuesday from 7:30 to 9 Central Standard Time. We're going to do once a month now, the last weekend of the month on Saturdays. We're going to try and do a UK-friendly stream every month. I want to thank everyone that showed up for that UK stream. That went pretty well. I think with a little bit more knowledge spreading, a little bit more advertising when people get a little bit more hang up. I love the idea of it. But we're going to do it more because this is a worldwide game and we want to interact with our friends and our fans worldwide, people that are fans of this game, which we all are. We're going to have a video tutorial, a video showcase this weekend of my Imperial Guard army, but we should have a tutorial up for you real soon. I'm working on some desert bases. And I've got some really cool stuff to show you guys how to build your own texture paste for a lot cheaper. Let me quick show you here. Here it is. So this cost me about $5 to make, maybe even less, probably more like $4 to make. This is the exact same stuff you would get if you got a thing of Agaros dunes or astrogranite debris. This is the Taco Tuesday. My man Jam Jar, good to see you, my friend. Sorry, we're closing up shop for the night. Just now my UK buddies are showing up. Good to see all of you, though. But this jar here, is the exact same thing as astrogranite debris or Agaros dunes, but without any color in it, so that you can make it your own colors. This is half the price of one of their jars of it, and you can see how much more there is of it. So That tutorial that's coming out real soon is going to show you how I make this stuff. Super cheap, super easy, and it keeps. So we'll get that out to you guys really soon. I might even try to get it done this week and maybe have a couple things up for you this week. Since starting next week, I'm going to be working and I'm not going to have as much time behind the camera. That being said, again, thank you all so much. Remember, guys, epic your board and epic your game, epic your life. It's all about making that splash in the game so other players look at you and go, that's really cool. How'd you do that? And you show them. Share the knowledge, share the wealth, share the love, and share the joy. Game on, my friends. I love you all, and we hope to see you soon. Game on.